Hi all, thanks for joining this webinar about our document rejection manager for Oracle. Today I will present this new solution, which is a model within the ACS imaging tool to show you how to reject your invoices if they are incorrect. So let me start with the agenda for today. I will introduce myself, then I will talk about a bit more about the invoice exceptions, the importance of having a DRM. Then I will give you a short demo about how this DRM looks and what it can do for your company. And then as last, we can have the questions and answers if there are any questions. So let's start with the introduction of myself. Some of you will already know me, others they probably don't. My name is Peter. I'm working at APRO for almost a decade. I do have a decade of experience in Oracle Financials Cloud and Oracle E-Business Suite when I started before APRO. Nowadays, I'm on the sales side of APRO, and today I will present you the demo. So a bit more about the invoice exceptions. So if we look at the researches that are done on the AP side, then we can see that 20% of all the incoming invoices are exceptions. It could be a missing PO. It could be that it is not an invoice at all. It could be something different, that the organization name is incorrect or something else. So what we know is that when you have those exceptions, they always cost you time. It is a financial cost because time is money. And of course, your staff is also not happy to receive so much exceptions because, yeah, it gives them not the focus on the AP payables initiatives, but yeah, you have to work on the problems which you have on those exceptions. So what can the DRM do for you? I will explain to you in the next slide with all the elements that the DRM contains. So if I move forward, then you can see what DRM does. So it automatically can reject invoices for you. Based on that automated message, it's always a consistent message to your suppliers. So the communication to your suppliers is always in the right way, without any error messages or strange messages that something is wrong. When you send out those messages, you can adjust those templates if that is needed, because there will be sent back an email with the invoice attached and the problem, what is going on with this invoice, why it is an exception. And what you can also do within our DRM is to have rules that you can group a certain part of rules for maybe different business units, you have different rules, or maybe for a group of suppliers, you would like to have a different exception ruling, then that is also possible within APRO. And of course, all is integrated within the Oracle Financials Cloud, which means that, for example, if we check a PO number on the invoice, if it's a valid PO, we check with the Oracle master data if this PO is known in the system. And what we can also even do if the PO is finally closed, or if the PO is even still open, to reject the invoice. So eventually, if you have the document rejection manager, it will save you time, money, and the satisfaction of your employees, because all the exceptions could be handled automatically or with a small intervention of your staff. Here you can see a bit about the workflow. So what happens, you will receive an incoming invoice. Then after the invoice is received and fetched by APRO, by any source, this could be email, it could be by the PEPL network or an SFTP drive or whatever, or a government portal. Then APRO scans the invoice, like how we do to recognize invoice data. It could be also from an XML file to look up all the information out of the tags to collect all the data. Then when we do, we already start setting up all the rules that are active. So we can check PO information. We can check if the organization name is right. We can check several things on the invoice, if it has an invoice number, if it's not a duplicate, etc. If such a rule is applied, and it's an automated rule, we automatically create an email. We embed the image, so the PDF or the XML, to this email template, and we send it automatically back to the supplier. So that's one flow. The other flow could be if the rule is applied, but it's not an automated rule. So you would like to have an intervention that you will first check. Then we send it to the workbench, and then the AP user can check if the invoice should be rejected, yes or no. If that's the case, he can select the right template, and then also the email will be rejected. If there is no rule applied and the invoice is totally fine, it will go like any other invoice. It could go to the workbench or straight into Oracle Financials Cloud if you have straight-through processing active for this invoice. So there are several workflows that you could have in the DRM that could apply, and that's all based on setup and ruling that you activate within our application. So for this demo, I prepared some scenarios. So one is the XML. The other one is incorrect organization name. I can see that there's something wrong with the slide. Invalid PO number or a duplicate. So all four, they will be shown by APRO. I also put in an additional one, a regular invoice. So an invoice that would go just like the normal flow. So that will be visible in the flow when I fetch my invoices by email. So when I start, let me collect the email itself. So here is, for example, an invoice. I send it to our inbox, and basically this contains all the scenarios that I would like to show. So when we go to Oracle itself, let's start Oracle Financials Cloud. We log in. We go to the APRO sandbox. We go to APRO Imaging. And we log in. And it works a bit like all the other stuff. So you just import your invoices, and in the background, APRO is fetching them for you based on a scheduled process. So the AP user can go to AP Invoice Automation, and from there it could check if new invoices are imported, yes or no. So from here, I see 3 are already finished today. And what would happen now within a second is that it will upload another bunch of invoices to check if invoices are in. So when you have the DRM active, then you will also have some more sandboxes that you have on a normal case. So in here, normally you would have like the invoice history screen, but if you have the DRM active, you will also have a document rejection history screen as well. So what will this show? It will show you all the rejections that APRO did in a certain period. So you can also now see all the invoices which are rejected. And what will happen to this rejection manager? If it's fully automatically rejected, it will not be shown into your workbench. So if you have the DRM active, most of your exceptions, they will not be kept in your workbench, but they are already sent back to your supplier. So you don't have to worry that people are still working on invoices that are not invoices or incorrect invoices, because that's all handled by APRO. So when we go back, it should now import the invoices. So we just have to wait until that scheduled process is starting. And if it's not starting, we can also, of course, kick it off within here. So let me import the invoices if that's not done. And then it starts collecting the invoices from that side. So eventually when invoices are imported, here it goes. So it's now importing the email, which is picked up. It start doing the recognition. So it start doing the XML recognition. It start doing all the other recognition stuff that needs to be done. Now it's waiting for the user to the user approval for the split, if it needs to be split. And then eventually it will start importing the invoices. Once this is done, we can see that invoices are moved. So if we go to the invoice history screen first, we can have a check of all the incoming invoices, for example, today. And we can see that, yeah, there are new invoices imported by APRO. So here you can see it start doing the recognition stuff. You can see that all the 5 that I just imported are now new. So it start doing the recognition on those. And as soon as it's collecting more and more information, then you will see that things, or it will be rejected, or they will be moved to the right work list. So we just have to wait until it's processing more and more information until it continues. So let me see how far we are with the execution. It's now doing the header execution. Also, you can see here that it's picked up one email. So that's the email that we just processed. You can also download this file to see what APRO picks up in a certain time frame. And all that kind of stuff is visible in here. You can see it has 9 attachments, but that could also be signatures. And from here, you can see also the number of images, number of XML files, invoices, etc. So now it's finished. So everything is done. And if I now go back to this invoice history screen, we would see the following, that things are rejected. So here you can see a certain of things. I have one invoice here. It's automatically rejected by APRO. You cannot see why. Also, you can see, let me move it a bit that I can have the ones on the right side. So all of these. So I have 4 invoices, 3 invoices that are automatically rejected. In here, I cannot see why they are rejected. I can also see that one invoice, it had moved to the rejected invoices work list. So this means that this invoice, it's not automatically sent back to the supplier, but it's moved to a separate work list to be checked by AP. And I also have one invoice. It's moved to the non-PO invoice flow because this is a normal inflows. It didn't have any impact on any DRM rule. So this is just a correct invoice that needs to be approved by AP to be sent to Oracle. So let me close this screen and I will move to the document rejection history screen. And in here, I have for today, I can also select the day before. And if I say search, then I can see all my rejections that I done of today. And from here, I can also see why things are rejected. So for example, this invoice, it was rejected. So this was the receiver. So it was sent out by my own email account to our inbox. And then it sent back an email back to this user with the message that there was an incorrect customer name, etc. For this invoice, it's also automatically rejected because it's a duplicate. So also if a customer or a supplier sends you an invoice, if it's a duplicate, it will automatically send it back to your supplier with a message, the invoice is rejected because it's a duplicate. For the last one, and this is good because it could also apply that you have one invoice that will be triggered by multiple rejections. So it could be that it's a duplicate, that there's no PO found, or the organization name is incorrect. So there could be all rules could also be active for multiple, for one invoice in multiple ways. Then what happens is, of course, that you will receive an invoice or an email template with all those rules that applied. Now you can see that the emails are sent out. So after it's got rejected, it's sending out the email. And here you can download the outbound email. So you can also see what APRO has sent out, what kind of email has been sent out. So if I open now this particular email, then what you will see in here is a message like this. It sends back the original email. And it also, if the supplier name or the suppliers recognize, it will put the supplier name in here as well. And it will send you, it will give you the message and also tells you why it was rejected. So within the XML, we found the supplier party name or the customer party name, and it has a naming, which probably is something else than what we expect. It's not the entity name, it's completely something else. And then APRO puts it back. So what we see in here, we see accounting supplier name. And for example, the customer party name, it's called PG de Graaf BV. It's a total different entity. It has nothing to do with our company. So that's why it's rejected. And that's also the reason why this invoice is rejected. Also, if I look now back in my email box, I can have the messages as there as well. because I was the one that has sent out those emails. And here you can see all the rejections that I received from all the invoices. So for example, this one, it's Eric. It has 2 rejections, so there is no PO found on the invoice. The original invoice is attached, and also the invoice is rejected because it's a duplicate. So APRO checks with Oracle Financials Cloud if the invoice is already known, and then it will reject the invoice. So we also have one invoice that is kept into the intervention work list. So if I go to the workbench, I can see that there are 2 new invoices imported. One is a correct invoice, so there's nothing wrong with this invoice. And this particular invoice, it's moved to the rejected invoices. And in here, we can check, okay, why is it actually rejected? So here you can see it's addressed to me. So I bought something, but it's not for APRO, for the APRO company, so it got rejected. If I go, for example, to the rejections tab, you can see here why it got rejected, because there is a different incorrect customer name. And from here, I can tell as AP, this is indeed an incorrect email. So I can go in here, reject invoice. I can say, okay, what rules should apply? So which automatic rules should apply? I say, okay, incorrect, no message, reject and send email. So what happens now, it all pops up an email from here, and you can adjust this one. So I can say, okay, dear IKEA, and then again, I could send it back. So it's automatically, this can also be adjusted. So I can put in another name, and then it will be rejected and sent back to the customer. So again, this invoice will be sent out, and now it's out of the queue. So here we have an invoice. This is just a correct invoice. So basically nothing is wrong with this invoice, and we can also move this to Oracle if that is needed. So if this invoice, it can be saved and validated, and then it probably will be moved to Oracle. So this indeed, it saves you a lot of time because you don't have to manually reject if automatically rejection is on. If there is an intervention work list, you can still pick up the templates which are created by APRO, and you can adjust them, and you can send back the invoices. Or if the invoice is after the rejection, you think it's still correct to send to Oracle, you can also just send it to Oracle. So then even if the rules applied, you can still move it to Oracle if you think it's a correct invoice, because it could happen that it's rejected because there's no PO. But for this particular invoice, there should not be a PO because it's a non-PO invoice, and that's allowed for this particular invoice. And then you can still move it to Oracle. So basically, this is all what the document rejection manager can do for you. So basically, you apply all the rules, you do all the setup, you can create groups. So based on the supplier group, based on business unit, you can have several rules. And then if it's all set up, it's an automated system, and it just scans all your invoices. It checks and applies all the rules that are active, and it will send it back if it's an automated rule. So basically now it's all empty. And also in here, the document rejection history. If I go back in here, we can see the invoices again. So also the invoice that was moved to the manual rejected, you can also now see that it's manual rejected. And from here, you can also see that the other ones are accepted and sent out. So all are now out of the system. And basically, this is also the end of this DRM demo, because all is automatically rejected or one is manually rejected. So we can go back to the slides, and maybe there are some questions, yes or no. So let me check if we received some questions. Okay, how sensitive are those rules that check on names? Does it automatically reject if the comma between the name, etc.? That would be the case. What we do is that we can set up multiple different scenarios within APRO. So with comma, without comma. to make sure that the naming is spelled correctly. We can also fetch it from the OCR, how it's spelled out, so that we have all the options in, so that it will not reject invoices automatically for the naming in an incorrect way. Okay, another question. How can we avoid the automatic reject an email to be sent? It's possible that if you don't want it to automatically reject on a certain rule, that you will say, okay, for this rule, it should not be automatically rejected, but it should move the invoice to a separate workbench, so that first an AP user can check if it should be rejected, yes or no. You said that you can send invoices through if PO not is on the invoices without accounting. No, you cannot send invoices without PO, without accounting to Oracle, because you always need accounting. The only thing is that, for example, if you have a supplier, which normally sends you always a PO, so basically if it doesn't send you an invoice with a PO, you can reject it. But for example, if you have an exception that for one invoice, they don't have to put a PO on the invoice because it's something separate, like a discount or a service which they want to calculate or invoice, then you can do it with only an accounting string and not match it with the PO. Other questions? Can you create email templates yourself? Yes, it's possible to create email templates yourself. So it's possible that also you can create rules by yourself. And if you select that specific rule into your workbench, then the email template pops up automatically, that the one that you created. And based on that, that message, it will be sent out to Oracle. Can you exclude certain vendors for some rules? Yeah, so we can exclude indeed vendors, especially indeed for the PO vendors, because in Oracle you have like a special checkbox if it's a purchasing site, yes or no. So it's if it's a PO site, and then we can look if the checkbox is active. Then if the checkbox is active, we will check if a PO is needed. If the checkbox is not active, so it's a non-PO supplier, then the rule will not be applied. Can we introduce the document rejection history tab for our users? Is there any supplementary cost to have access to it? Well, basically, if you have the document rejection model active, you will get also the sandbox of the history screen, and that will be available for the users that can have access to APRO. Where are we finding the email accounts for the vendor? Is this linked to the master data? Yes, that is correct. So the first place that we look is the sender email. So if your invoices are coming in by email, then we look at the sender of this email. If the sender is a no reply email account, we will look in Oracle on the supplier side on the communication tab, which email accounts are active over there. If it's an XML, so it could be run through PEPL, then it's not by email. So you will not have a sender email, because it's not from an email account. Then we can also look within the XML what kind of email account is addressed over there. Or we go to the master data again to check on the communication tab on the supplier side to which email address it can be sent. I think a lot of questions are answered. Oh, here I have one. Can we create some rules that will be sent an email to people inside the company? For example, when the PO is on the wrong amount. I think that's possible. The only thing what you need to do for that is that it will not send it back to the supplier, but it will send it back to someone internally. So basically what you need to do is exclude the email account of the company, that it will not be sent back to the company. And it will look in the supplier master data. And there you have to fill in the internal email account for the user that needs to receive the invoice if the PO is wrong. So it's possible to set it up in that case. Can the rejection rules include price issue, PO overbilling, PO issues? Yes, we can. So if there is an overbill, we can also reject the invoice. If there's a price issue, we can also send it back to the supplier as well, because we can check with all the data which is available in Oracle because of the integration that we have. I think that were most of the questions. I think if you have more questions, you can also email to me directly or to the email account that you know from APRO. So basically, let me know if some questions are not answered, then I will come back to you as soon as possible. Well, thanks. Thanks for joining the short webinar of the Document Rejection Manager. I hope you liked what you have seen, and I hope it's useful also for your company to work with the Document Rejection Manager, that we can be in touch soon. Thank you.